All right, let's get into this presentation. So this, I want to just kind of give some context to the background of this. This was very weird how this kind of spontaneously happened between you and I. So Laura and I, probably like once a week, will go back and revisit Payne's PCA, his version of the events. And we go through that document and really, we call it spitballing.
Yeah.
You know, we'll pull it up and say, let's really read this. And then let's go back and read it again. And then let's go back and read it again. And then we have sometimes an aha moment. Okay. Aha, that's it. And then, you know, we stop. And that's why I say, when you go in and really read these documents, like when we talked about the latent foot shoe print, how we came up with maybe some theory on that. And you're going to hear probably a little bit of that in this presentation as well, too. I think we have a new way about it, maybe another angle, but it's all based on, I want to make sure that we're very clear on this. It's all based on what's inside the PCA. Again, I am not a lawyer. Laura is not a lawyer. I am not law enforcement. Laura is not law enforcement. Nope. Everything we say is alleged.
Speculation.
Speculation.
Based on the facts.
In our opinion, right. Based upon the facts. All right, so let's pull this up. So I call this the chilling encounter. Okay, the chilling encounter.
And we also have to remember there's things we don't know, but we can take a step back and say, well, that probably happened, or what really happened inside this house.
Right.
So that's where we got to this part.
Right. So at approximately 4 a.m., so we have the DoorDash, we have Xana, and I'm going to read this, and I know everybody's kind of heard this, but I want you all to really focus. I want you to all really just listen, even if you have headphones on, close your eyes, just really listen to me talk, because this is where it kind of all came together for us the other night. So DM and BF both made statements, and this is probably the most important piece here. DM and BF both made statements during the interview that they implicated the occupants of the King Road residence were home by 2 a.m. and asleep by at least in their rooms by at least approximately 4 a.m. This was at the exception of Xana, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. Law enforcement identified the DoorDash delivery driver who reported the information. Okay, so DM stated that she originally went to sleep in her room on the southeast side of the second floor. DM stated that she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Gonzalez playing with her dog in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which were located on the third floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." I'm going to repeat that again.
Okay.
DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez say something to effect of, "There's someone here." A review. Now listen, everybody, because this was the aha moment between Laura and I. A review of the records obtained from the forensic download of Xana's phone showed it could have been Xana, as her cell phone indicated she was likely awake using TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. So that's a piece of the puzzle. Go ahead, Laura.
So I've asked myself, why include that? Why is it even relevant that it could have been Xana? How does that play into part? And obviously they were very purposeful with what they put in the PCA because they don't want to show their whole hand. So why would they put that in there? Because I bet if we sit and think, by 4:12 a.m., given the timeline, most likely the third floor occupants, Kaylee and Maddie, were either already deceased or mortally wounded, and they believed that it was Xana. Dylan thought it was Kaylee, but law enforcement are trying to say there it was probably Xana because the two upstairs were probably gone by then.
So now we're up on the second floor of the home. You can see where Xana's room is, and you can see that small hallway that leads to the kitchen to DM's room. Okay. So this is what I think. I think Xana's walking towards the kitchen, possibly using TikTok on her app, looking down at her phone, or maybe sitting in that little seating area, because we know to the left was like a little living room sectional or something that was there. So let's say Xana's walking towards the kitchen, maybe to dispose of the DoorDash bag, because we know that that bag was found. We don't know if that was a week before or that night. Okay.
We don't know if that was the bag, if the one that we've seen in pictures.
Right. Boom. She encounters the suspect. Okay. Located on the 3rd floor, a short time later, oh my God, it just sounded really Boston. DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of the records obtained from forensic download of Kernodle's phone showed that she could have been on TikTok, blah, 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 at 4:12 a.m. I think Xana saw the suspect and went, "There's someone here." And it scared the shit out of her.
Probably exclaimed it to Ethan. Whether or not she had her phone in her hand or not, we could go back and forth with that, but 4:12 a.m. on TikTok yelled, "There's someone here," because she saw somebody in black either on her way out to the kitchen, her way back from the kitchen. Like we said, we don't know if that was the DoorDash bag from that evening, but it could be that she made it out to the kitchen and saw somebody, or without knowing if there was a DoorDash bag elsewhere in the house, we can't really go from that, but it's very plausible that on her way back, she saw someone, yelled to Ethan, "There's someone here," tried to get back to her room.
Okay. So now we're there. Let me get this next slide. She bolts back to the room. Oh, did I lose you, Laura? Hang on.
No, I'm still, there.
Hang on. Let me get you back in the view.
Oh,
We're all over the place now. All right, bear with me. I'll get this. Where are you?
I'm still here, but I'm not here.
There we go. All right. So now she takes off towards her bedroom. Okay. Suspect in tow. Follows to the bedroom. Now you got the bedroom. Now we don't know exactly where it could have happened in the bedroom. I think that, so now it says DM stated that she looked out her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. DM stated she opened her door the second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Xana's room. DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm here to help you." Now we think this could have been where there was the struggle inside Xana's room. Go ahead, Laura.
Where she ran back into the room. She said, "There's somebody here," runs back into the room. Ethan's like, "It's okay, I'll help you." And that is when they were attacked.
Okay. Now, attack has already happened. Suspect is back, going back towards that sliding glass door. You now come back into the hallway. DM's room is to the left. Possible point of entry and exit is to the right. DM stated she opened her door for the 3rd time after she heard crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth, nose, and walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built, and bushy eyebrows. The male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. The male walked towards the back sliding glass door. DM locked herself in her room after seeing the male. DM did not state if she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. So now if we come into the kitchen and we're looking towards DM's room, you have the latent shoe print. You have the other arrow on the floor that's pointing to the sliding glass door, and you have DM's room. during the so we're going to get to the point of why we think all this is because people are like, where are you all? During the process of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print in the circle. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by ISP forensic team, first using the presumptive blood test amino black protein stain that detected the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans-type sole shoe outside the door of DM's bedroom, located on the second floor. That is consistent with DM's statements regarding the suspect's path to travel. Do you want to take this one and why you think the shoe print got latent?
Well, given the information we've had, the police, when they searched the home, they encountered Xana's body first, leading us to believe that she was in the doorway, just inside the room, and then Ethan would have been further into the room. I know there's also talk that Ethan was found in the bed, and Xana was most likely found on the floor.
Which would make sense because if he was slashed, which we've heard he was slashed, we don't know where he was slashed. If he fell onto that bed and say his throat was slashed, he would bleed out. That's how you would get the blood drain down the wall. Or figuratively speaking, that's a lot of blood. And if that house is on a pitch, that's probably the way the blood all ran.
And if Xana was attacked without being in bed, there is a better chance that the suspect would have blood on them, especially on, from the knees below, because when you're next to a bed and you are attacking someone, the blood most likely won't get on your knees down as much as it would if somebody was just standing there or whatever. So, therefore, there would have been blood that got on the suspect. The suspect probably had a trail of blood walking from Xana's room all the way out through.
Right.
And so it wore off. So as the suspect walked, the blood wore off. Now, another point to make is he could have thought he was done after he came down from the third floor
That's what I think.
and therefore had removed some protective gear,
Mm-hmm.
which is why there might have been bloody footprints, shoe
Right.
prints, because this, that Xana, literally the DoorDash could have been what led to her demise because of her taking the bag out to the kitchen. Xana was also known to be a neat freak, always up with the chores, so that makes sense that she would walk a DoorDash bag back out to the kitchen instead of having it in her room all night. Um, it's just very plausible looking at what I've learned from examining their TikToks and social media that she most likely wanted that bag back out in the kitchen, got it back out to the kitchen, and that is when she was encountered by the suspect, ran back to her room, yelled to Ethan. Ethan yelled back, and that was it. It happened very quickly.
Okay, so now everybody's like, why did they take us through this big presentation? Because the next slide that I show, I think is going to do the, and I think this might be a lot of the conversation why they're trying to pull Bethany in. The defense wants to speak to her. I think, and Laura is pretty strong about this too, because this makes sense. Now, again, we're allegedly just saying, we're just basing opinions, but I think this is what the battle is with the defense and Bethany Funk and bringing all this up. This is very important. I want everybody to pay attention, and I want everybody to read this, and I want everybody to listen, because it's an opinion. It's alleged. The final mention of Funk in the affidavit states that the police reviewed forensic downloads from her phone to determine the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. Forensic downloads to determine that the homicides happened between these times. They were fucking texting each other.
Did you hear that?
Did you hear that? They were texting each other because there's timestamps on those texts. They probably heard noises. Now, I'm not going to go anywhere and say they're involved and they set all this up and blah, 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 blah. But it leads me to believe, based on this information, there were some text conversations going on. Did you hear that? Are you up?
If
Possibly.
they were asleep, or say even if Bethany was asleep, yeah, I mean, we're just talking about Bethany right now. If she was asleep at that time, there wouldn't be anything going on her phone between 4 and 4:25 or whenever she fell asleep until whenever she woke up. So
So
why is that in there?
based on the forensic downloads of their phones, that they would determine between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. There's timestamps. They were talking to each other. It has to be it. Or they were texting their roommates going, what's going on? What's going on? Or there's phone calls. What's going on up there? Brenda thinks it's crazy. It's, I think in a good way, wow, that's crazy, you know, that reaction. But it's quite possible this is what happened. And this, like, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to show the chat. Here's the chat that we spitballed. I said to you, I somehow think Bethany Funk has something on her phone. And then I clipped this little thing that I just put up. The final mention of Funk's affidavit. The police say the forensic downloads her phone. And the information on her phone leads the police think what time the crimes happened. She's got something. And you said right away, she and Dylan were texting. And I went, bingo.
We have a chat in here from Bobby Old Dude. I don't know if you can bring it up. It says, if Xana walked...
Hang on one second. When I had that moment, I said to Laura, I went, bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing. I'm sorry. Who is it?
Oh, Bobby Old Dude. If Xana walked to the kitchen, wouldn't she have turned a light on, meaning it wouldn't have been dark when DM looked out? They had that good vibes light in the living room.
Yeah,
so
that lit up pretty well.
Yeah, Xana would have probably been able to see her way out there. We don't know. I mean, and I believe there were also Christmas lights strung in the kitchen. So, yeah, she should have seen. She saw enough to see a black figure, clad in black. I don't know if she would have seen anything at that moment in time from her doorway because everything would have happened so fast.
So, you know, and here you go too. You know, Paula's saying there's a rumor that's saying that probably because someone figured all this out, you know, and it just took us a little while to go over it. But that's like I said, Laura and I look through that PCA at least once a week and we spitball what could have happened. This makes a lot of sense to me. A lot of sense. Because right there, it says it right there. The downloads from her phone from Bethany's phone determined that the homicides occurred between 4 a.m. and 4. What other information would they have on there? She's fucking sleeping.
Yeah.
They were texting. There was some communication. Did you hear that? What is that? What's going on? What's that noise? Calling her upstairs roommates.
And sadly, that just leads us to more questions. If they were texting and saying, what was that? Or the thud that was heard, why nothing else till later in the morning? Why? And you know, I give these young ladies the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think we all want to know why. Why was nobody called until the next morning? Why didn't, Bethany say, what was that? And Dylan said, nothing. We don't know. We don't know what those text messages were. I'm sure that will come out in a trial. I said a trial whenever we get there. And we'll all be right there at the edge of our seats thinking back to this night. Why would they think? Well, they wouldn't. I mean, that's not a common thought, but
I'm sure if I'm downstairs in a bottom floor and I'm hearing a bunch of, I mean, this is the thing that people have to understand. It was so loud in that house that got picked up through walls and picked up on a camera that was next door. And that's why I dismissed the fact that it was so quiet that night. It wasn't. It was loud. I mean, let me drop you on the floor right now and sound, what that's going to sound like on a wood floor. That's going to reverberate through a house. And you're going to hear a struggle. You're probably going to hear some screaming and some crying. A lot of commotion going on. Ethan was a big dude. I'm sure you probably wrestled a little bit, or maybe he just didn't even see it coming and that was it. But so Crossreach says very possible, but the 8-hour time gap is a huge problem. And how does that fit into the PCA? Suggested Kohberger is a suspect. I don't know. The 8-hour gap is the next thing that we're trying to work on. And we just don't have enough information there.
And
It's weird.
this micro story of the whole thing doesn't really put anybody in as a
Sure.
suspect. It just basically states that Xana must have encountered the suspect to make the PCA believable, like the story, how it all flowed.